podcasts over at wildgamesproductions.com and d20radio.com.
They came from the game table, dice bags in hand,
We have one brain that we share between us.
to talk about role-playing for all across the land.
And you'll like it.
The original, then basic, then one they scoured.
Kinda grabs you by the boo-boo, don't it?
To bring AD&D to the second power.
You want me to put the hammer down?
Welcome to THACO's Hammer, the best damn AD&D 2nd edition podcast ever.
And we are rolling. Okay.
Where are we rolling to?
Email land, that's where we're rolling.
Oh,
All right.
I gotta pee. Pull over.
All right. Okay, next one. Who's going to host it? You want to host it, Corey, or I'll do it?
You want to do it or you want me to do it?
I
don't
can do
care
it.
either
It's
way.
no big deal.
All right, go for it.
We
I
can
don't want
both-
to put too much on your plate. We'll co-host it. All four of us.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
that's what we
you
are.
can do the intro.
Well,
you can do
somebody's
the
got to
intro.
drive the bus. Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
I'll sit in the back.
Okay. I could make a joke, but I won't.
Don't, because I didn't and I took the high road.
Yeah, for once. Hey, folks, this is THACO's Hammer, Splat Book number 103, I think? Yeah, 103. And we're doing an email show today. I am your host, DM Brian, and over there is our co-host, DM Corey.
Yes, you are, Brian. You are Brian. Last time I checked. What's going on, everybody?
Yeah, I can only be me. No one else wants the job. And over there is DM Full On Gamer.
Greetings, Gamer Nation. Welcome to the depths of the email bag and the voicemail bag.
Oh yeah, we're going deep this time because we've got some emails that haven't been read since August, and we have a special co-host today because DM Glen is doing family stuff. With it being the holidays, being 3 days before Christmas now. So
Oh, you're gonna date the episode. Nice.
yeah, I'm gonna do it. Yeah, what the hell? If it comes out, 6 months later, I don't care. I do it when I do it. But over there is DM Jim Cook.
Hi, everybody. It's nice to be here, and I never realized how much I look like Jabba the Hutt until I saw my little picture there in the corner.
Yeah. Google Hangouts video. It does not. It does not show favorably on anyone.
No, it does not.
And by the way, for everybody listening at home, Glenn is actually tied up, bound, gagged, and put in a box and gift wrapped under his tree for his wife. We decided to give him the off, so he's not here with us.
Yeah, sure. Never mind. I can make a joke about that, but we won't because Glenn's not here to defend himself. All right, let's get on to hits and crits.
Well? One thought he was invincible, the other thought he could fly. So? They were both wrong.
Son of a bitch is dug in like an Alabama tick.
You're hit. You're bleeding, man.
I ain't got time to bleed.
We're sending somebody in to negotiate!
Anybody else want to negotiate?
Hits and crits.
Hits and crits. Okay, what have we been doing in gaming since you are the guest host? Let's let Jim go first. Jim, what have you been doing in gaming as of late?
Lately, I haven't been doing anything. I'm on vacation from work, where I actually earn my, measly salary. Normally, I run 3 online games. I'm a totally digital DM right now. I run 3 online games. I run a Pathfinder, a Mutants and Masterminds, and a Star Wars Saga edition. I also play in a couple of other ones too, and I'm working on starting up a Star Trek game under Fate Core rules.
Good lord!
Wow, you're
also
an ambitious mofo. I'll say that.
I'm also working to start my own small vanity publishing company, which hopefully will earn me like tens of dollars. I'm working on three products right now, which none of them are anywhere close to being ready, but I'm trying.
Hey, be ambitious. Shoot for hundreds of dollars instead of tens. Okay, Corey, what have you been doing?
Well, I'm eating a Milky Way right now, but
Be a professional, damn it.
I was on you. You couldn't have went with full on.
Well, you pointed to yourself, so I said
No,
okay.
I was pointing to my chewing. All right.
One of these days, folks, we are actually going to put the video out, and you will regret it.
Yeah.
One of these days. But anyway.
I've been drawing, getting some inking done, inking my pages, getting ready for this Kickstarter. I finally found a colorist, a lot closer to home than I thought. My cousin hit me up. He's been working on Photoshop for the last few years and Adobe After Effects and some other stuff, so we're trying that out. I've been working on the campaign that I'm setting up since I'm taking over DMing duties after the first of the year.
Yeah.
Let's just say I'm glad I'm not playing in it.
Oh, really? It's going to be that kind of game?
Well, everybody at the table has at least 3+ years of D&D at my table, D&D experience. I brought some of the veterans back, kicked out the noobs. The only noobs that are at the table are my girlfriend.
Which you can't kick out because, you don't get no snoo-snoo.
No, I'd rather play with her anyway. Come on. And
well, we all know that.
Yeah, and her 12-year-old daughter. So we have a child at the table, or a young tween at the table. So it's going to be
it's going to be
funny.
interesting because the guys have to behave a little bit now.
Correct. It's not a whole, D and F jokes,
Yeah, you've told enough stories about who you roll with at the table, Corey. So
so
this should be fun.
And now everybody has to start wearing pants at the table and stuff, so it's going to be a little down from my campaign.
Wow. Sounds it's going to be interesting. Keep us posted. All right, Full On, what have you been doing lately, as if I have to ask?
Well, of course, there's the continuing saga of rolling deep with the Old Republic and enjoying the new content that's out there with the Shadow of Revan, plus starting to work on the rest of the stable of 19 characters to get them caught up and moving forward in my self-sustaining economy for Hammersmith Cyberdynamics. But separately from that, I was also spending the weekend doing all the background generation that was requested for our Marvel Superheroes game, where, true to threat, I went and gave a selection to the Game Master, Brian. I used the stuff that's available on the Marvel Heroes Forever website for background generation. I used Galactic Undergrounds, books 1 and 3, to do the Fast and Dirty 5 Rolls character generation. And then I went into Central Casting Heroes Now, superhero generation, and recently got done purging through those pages and converting them into type to send.
Wow.
Which you now have.
Yes, I do. I'm looking at it as we speak, and I'm like, okay, this should be interesting. This gives me more than enough to come up with some interesting little side things for your character, which is what I wanted.
I expect to be crucified by dawn.
No, it's not that bad. I mean, I like the fact that your father was a Latvarian spy. That's an interesting little thing. But anyway. So yeah, this is going to be interesting, and yeah, folks, our Marvel game is coming. We are shooting for starting this game at probably the Monday after Christmas, which is the 29th. So we may just get together and do that, and I've got to do a lot of boning up on the system to make sure, my judging skills are up to snuff. We shall see.
You said boning.
Yes, I did. Well, I have a 5-month-old running around as a result of that. Anyway, so let's see. Well, as far as me, I've been doing pretty much kind of what Fallon's been doing, just with Marvel Heroes. I recently bought the Guardians of the Galaxy character pack, which includes Star-Lord and a playable Rocket Raccoon and Groot, Gamora, and Drax. And I'm having a lot of fun with Rocket Raccoon, and he's a foul-mouthed little bastard. He's a lot of fun just to be in combat and listen to the quotes that he's.
Did they at least give him his British accent? That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
Did
See,
they
there
give him
there are
his British
two.
accent?
Yeah, there are two costumes for Rocket Raccoon. One is the original, which is the one that's been in the comics for God knows how long, and then there's the movie version. I was playing the movie version for a while, which is actually kind of funnier to me. But then again, I haven't actually seen Guardians of the Galaxy yet. I will rectify that ASAP. So
I don't believe you're allowed to DM our Marvel game if you have not seen that movie.
Oh, is that right?
I don't know. You have to go see this movie.
Well, I
I'm telling
haven't
you, I
seen. I
command
haven't
you.
seen. Well, I haven't seen the Avengers 2. I've seen Thor: The Dark World. You know, I'm behind on my Marvel movies, but I will catch up. You know.
I think we're all behind on Avengers 2.
Yeah, not Avengers. Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
What
Stop.
resources
Stop.
you about?
Yeah. No, I'm sorry. I was trying to think of. No, I saw the Avengers.
Thor 2?
Thor 2. Yeah, I saw Thor 2. I know there's one in. Oh, the Winter Soldier. That's the one I haven't
Captain
seen
America.
yet. Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, Captain America 2.
And yeah, and
Well, as soon as we're done here and we're off the air, I may or may not have some links for you that I can neither confirm nor deny.
Oh,
Anyway.
What? I have a couple of those links myself, but we will say no more. Hey, it's not illegal. It's streaming. It's not illegal. But anyway, I'll just cut that out just to be sure.
It was offered up from the Sony leaks.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, then there's that. Yeah. And for the record, Sony, bad play. Bad play. Don't be afraid of North Korea. Even if they are threatening to nuke Japan because of this ridiculous movie that paints their dictator in a bad light.
Did you see Saturday Night Live is all I have to ask.
Did they see Team America?
30 years.
Oh my god. Either have I, but guess who was on?
Who?
Mike Myers showed up as Dr. Evil and he lambasted North Korea for being an evil country and calling Sony an evil enterprise. I was rolling on the floor laughing, and he dressed up like Dr. Evil and everything.
Awesome.
I was dying. He was on Saturday Night Live. You have to
Awesome.
watch it.
I bet it's on YouTube by now. I'll check it out.
It is. It is.
Okay. Well, that's pretty much what we've been doing. This is, of course, an email show, so let's open up the emails and see what we can pull out and entertain everybody with, so to speak.
Hey now.
Yeah,
it's a
I know.
family show.
It was. Anyway. So,
It's
Corey.
an apparatus of koalish.
Okay. Well, go for it, Corey.
Anyway, no, I meant what we're pulling out to entertain everybody with. It's an apparatus of koalish.
I could say
Anyway,
something, but I won't. But go ahead.
I know.
Yeah, the joke is there, and I'm trying really hard
I'm
not
gonna
to
make a
use it.
gnome device called an apparatus of koala *ish.
Oh, God.
All right.
The image that it generates. Anyway, go ahead.
I'm gonna read FD's Animals.
Okay, do it.
All right. This comes from our Kojo photocopy, aka the challenger to the crown, Mr. Freddie Pickle, Mr. FD.
Yep.
He sends and says, what do you consider to be animals in your game? For sake of spells that affect only animals, the major, quote-unquote, by the book, requirement of the spells is it works on any animal that is not mindless. However, a lot of mindless creatures aren't as mindless as I'd care to think. For instance, assigning 0 intelligence to things like Ankegs doesn't make sense to me. Why is an Ankeg 0 intelligence but a giant antlion 1 intelligence? Why does a giant crayfish have a 0 intelligence dumber than a boring beetle 1? And why is a boring beetle so much smarter than all the other beetles? Why is a giant catfish smarter than a giant pike? Why do urchins have 4 intelligence? How is an urchin smarter than an Ankeg?
Wow.
A buddy of mine on Argument Town made a valid argument once.
Sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but that's...
You just caught the punchline waiting to be given?
Yeah, really. I mean, just before I let Corey continue, that's my nickname for Dragon's Foot because, yeah, most discussions turn into arguments, but continue, Corey.
Most definitely. My buddy of mine on Argument Town made a valid argument once for disqualifying any sort of insect or giant insect because of various spells that affect only insects. I can see that. For the sake of the meaning of the argument, I'd also include arachnids and land-based arthropods, like centipedes, on that ruling. What about other arthropods, like water-based ones? Where does the crayfish and the cave fisher, and where does the scorpion begin? Wow. And then he goes on with a for instance list of things to support his argument, things like leeches, octopus, osquids, rocks, rust monsters, seahorse, sea lion, slugs. And the last of it says, my general rule is as long as it is not insect or arthropod, as long as it is an animal or giant animal, as long as it doesn't have any magical effect or power, it's an animal. This makes boulets, griffins, owls, bears, animals, but not... Oh, God, I hate when people put the E on the end. Chimera, gorgons, or behirs.
Mm-hmm.
Another good rule is, would a 4-year-old say this is an animal?
Wow.
Well,
Okay.
I would go he's close. Anything that's a regular animal is an animal. Anything that's a giant animal is an animal. Anything that's a minimal, he forgot a category, is also an animal.
Yes, agreed. But stuff like owl bears and things like...
Owl bears, no. Those are magical creation creatures. Those are
Correct.
monsters because they were created creatures. So that takes out the owl bears. That takes out the
Griffin.
cave fishers. That takes out the griffin. Those are monsters. Those are creatures, not just base animals.
Yeah, a Pegasus would be an animal, but a hippogriff or griffin monster.
Pegasus would not be an animal.
That's what I said. That's what I just said. But yeah. But continue.
So that is the general covering of it. If it comes to a definition wanting to look at the intelligent versus unintelligent ratings of creatures, well, some of those are more... The reason that the arthropods and the insects have some different categories, and again, since there's an entire insect category, you can take everything that's an insect off the table, because we're basically talking about birds, fishes, and mammals, the general spectrum of critters. So, and maybe your, octopi and thingies like that all categorized as animals.
Right.
But everything in the insect variety, it's too complex to deal with them, so that's why they just have their whole insect and arachnid category for all things like that, because some of them are pretty intelligent solitary hunters. Some of them are pretty intelligent social creatures with hive activity, and then others are just things that mindlessly sit in a hole and munch on anything that shows up.
Correct.
Hence the difference between things that are intelligent and unintelligent animals.
Yeah.
Can be affected by the spell.
For me, it's very simple, and this is how I rule it for my DMing, and I'm going to boil down essentially all of what Full On said into 2 sentences. The bones have to be on the inside of the creature, and it needs to be on our planet Earth as of now. That's an animal.
Fair enough. That's very easily...
Nothing with chitinous, no insectoid. The bones have to be on the inside of the body, and it needs to be something that you have seen or have seen a picture of a real-life creature on this planet right now. That is an animal.
Yeah,
and that'll include your mammoths and your saber-tooths and your giant wolverines that used to exist in the whatever
times.
age.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's perfect. Because when you think about it, going back to to basic D&D, they even categorized most of the monsters in there as either analogs of modern day animals or they were magical creations. That's where it stops for me. And God, this was drilled into my head in grade school about how spiders are not insects. They have their own classification. And and as to the intelligence part of it, animals are not complete. Animal intelligence, that's the difference between non-intelligent and animal. Non-intelligent is completely driven by instinct. Completely. Animal intelligence is most driven by instinct. Every once in a while, they may do something that is not shall I say, productive to their survival, like deer running out in the middle of the road when there's a car coming. They're drawn to the lights and they want to run out in the middle of it.
Armadillos bouncing up underneath cars.
Exactly. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
I mean, personally, I've never really thought about it, but between Full On and Corey, they pretty much hit it right on the head. So
besides, there's very little control you can do for the sponges on the sea bottom, but you could probably get a result from an octopus or a squid because they're known to be pretty smart hunters.
Correct.
What about our guest host, Jim? What do you think?
Yeah, Jim.
You know,
How would you rule it?
I would say that the big difference is an animal is anything that's just by itself, and a magical creature is anything that looks like more than one animal put together.
Correct.
So my ruling would be like a griffin, no. Hippogriff, no. Pegasus, no. Anything that's just its own creature would probably count as an animal.
So
Other
is
than that separate insect group.
Which the separate insect group then categorizes things like your cave fisher, because that's not going to be an animal either.
Right.
Even though it's its own thing.
It's its own thing. But anything that like Corey said, has bones on the inside and isn't made up of more than one creature, I would say is an animal.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's an easy way to boil it down. And not only that, another way to boil it down is to just go into your monstrous compendium or your collection or whatever you may have, and usually within the first paragraph it will say if it is a magical creation or a
Animal.
or a variation on an animal or anything like that, and just go with that and just
Now,
be done.
And if you really have a question, you can always reference your 3E monster manual, because they categorized everything. Everything had to have a category. and they-
Aberration or animal or he's right.
Yeah,
Yep.
I forgot about that.
Now,
Yeah, good
on the
call,
flip
Phil.
side of this, I have increased insect swarm to encompass those crustaceans and creatures with shells on the outside. So you have a druid in the woods, and there's a stream that's or they have access to a shore of the ocean. You cast insect swarm, it's that red wave of those crabs that come up on shore every 7 years that everybody like runs over with their cars that we see videos of.
Oh,
You can
yeah.
have, you know what I'm talking about?
know
Insect
what you got.
swarm,
Mhm.
crabs just swarm the beach.
Creep-
You know,
Creeping Doom of Skrill.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, that gives me the creeps just thinking about it, because I've seen that where they just come out of the ocean, they just come up onto
Yep.
land and onto the roads, and people are just stepping on them and running them over with cars. Ugh. Ugh, it
Ooh,
gives me
Night of the Creeps. Creeping Doom with slugs.
Yeah, no kidding. Hey, I like Night of the Creeps. We had an Iron Maiden
movie.
song
That was
in the
awesome movie.
soundtrack. Yeah. Okay. I think we've answered that question.
Thank you, FD, for your first email that we'll be reading of the many this evening.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, let's see. Here's a short. Oh, this one isn't quite so short, but here's another one from FD. Okay, he says this. He's requesting us to do a piece on the Alu Fiend, which I have no problem with. But let's read his email. Okay. Why don't you guys do a piece on this demon? On paper, she doesn't seem that powerful, a mid-level monster at best, but when you look at her at-will spell-like ability, she goes off the charts. Hell, use her for a DM brainstorm. Let's see. She can use at-will once per round, once per round, up to 1,440 times per day. Yeah, we get the math. Suggestion, charm person, ESP, and shape change into a form same size and shape. Here's where I'm. She would infiltrate an organization. God, I can't read. She would infiltrate an organization and begin charming everyone she can. Then use ESP to figure out what someone is thinking, and then start suggesting them to ensure she won't be found out and that she is the one in charge. I would not have her assuming the role of boss, but setting others up as the boss. She would be behind the throne, maybe the boss's chick, his advisor, his son or daughter. In case the boss ever figured her out, she could have several other backup bosses, in quotes, in line ready to take power away from the boss, whether temporarily or permanently. She would also have a hierarchy to who she was charming and suggesting. Some would be low-level goons, some would be mid-level goons, some would be the bosses. She could also have multiple factions of goons. For instance, the ogres are the one in charge, but she also has a boss goblin in case the ogres as a whole figured her out and went out for her. Her suggestion spells would last 7 hours each. Her charm persons would last at least a day or two, sometimes weeks or even months, depending on the intelligence. Each ESP would last 6 minutes. Those of you who play MMOs will understand the idea of maintaining DOTs and HOTs as well as buffs. Oh, God, did you really have to go there?
That stands for damage over times and heals over times for those who don't play MMOs.
Correct. She is smart enough to figure out a rotation among her thralls and would do her best to maintain it. The possibility with a combined 1,440 charm persons, suggestions, and ESPs per day is just staggering. In worst case scenario, let's say everyone figures her out all at once and she gets careless in maintaining her charms and suggestions. She can just teleport without error away, shape change into something else, come back and start where she left off. Those of you who are familiar with the show True Blood or Vampire the Masquerade can understand the effects of glamour in True Blood and presence dominate in Vampire Masquerade. This is basically the D&D version of those effects. Give it a whirl, guys. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. I personally could see someone doing a low-level, quote-unquote, monster doing that, especially one with that kind of mental dominance over other beings. I could certainly see it, but that's one of those where, yeah, such a character, and I think I talked about this a long ass time ago, but a character or not character, but a monster who has spells at beck and call can really wreak havoc on a party and doesn't have to lift a finger to do it.
Yep.
Hence the 2E rules on planar creatures if you're talking Planescape, where they broke down your access to character races to include things like Alufiends and Cambions and other half-demon, half-devil creatures, or quarter-demon, quarter-devil creatures, or less than that when you start getting into just your plain-touched.
Yep.
So,
if anybody wants to see one of these in action to a lesser degree and not using spells, since we were talking of Guardians of the Galaxy, we can go with Miss Gamora, the actress. I can't remember her name. She was also in Colombia.
Legion. Legion, the TV series.
Well, I was thinking more along the lines of the second Pitch Black movie, the chick who was married to the guy who was the new Judge Dredd. She was Gamora, the Gamora actress in Pitch Black.
Zoe Saldana. Zoe Saldana.
Yeah, she was the wife of the guy who was going to take over, and all she did was just whisper.
The Riddick ones? No, that wasn't her.
Yeah.
That was no, it wasn't Zoe Saldana. It was
Zoe. Looked like her. Yeah.
No, God, I can't remember her name, but I know what you're talking about. I'll look it up on IMDb.
Okay, so not her. So, but you know who I'm talking about.
Yes, I know exactly who you're talking about. But yeah, I mean, that's the whole thing about that kind of monster, that they aren't there for the party just to slay them. They're there to make the party's life a living hell, so to speak. And they can charm almost anybody, unless they're of exceptional wisdom or intelligence. They can pretty much charm anybody, and they can throw all kinds of resistances in the party's way to stay one step ahead of the party before they get her. So that's one of the things about that.
Which is why adventuring in locales such as the ruins of Mythdraenor and other locations like that are very, 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 very dangerous.
Yes. Extremely
With
dangerous.
the true demons, any of the true demons are not a low-level encounter for anyone, just because of their at-will powers and their base demon powers before you have your specific demon archetype powers.
Right.
And that still stays in effect for any of the half-fiendish creatures, of which you have the Alufiend is the half a succubus, the Cambion is a half a demon, or is a half a
What?
Cambion's the male version of that.
Male version, but they're spawned from breeding with something else. The male version of the succubus.
Incubus.
Yeah, you spawn with an incubi, you get a Cambion. You spawn with a succubus, you get an Alufiend.
Yep. And that's pretty much how that goes down. Oh, the actress's name is Thandie Newton. I couldn't remember the life of me, but yeah, I loved her in Mission Impossible 2. I thought she was the best part about that movie. Anyway, but to continue.
As far as my answer, FD, I actually planned on using one of these in my upcoming campaign before I read your email. When I read your email, I was like, yep, that's exactly my thoughts too. Give her access to a very large, very dumb, but very commanding warlord who rules with fear instead of intelligence, and make her the advisor.
So you're making it like that old Star Trek episode where they go to the Nazi planet.
Yes.
And it's the Weasley guy behind the throne. That's what you want. You want that Weasley girl behind the throne.
Yeah, she's a female worm tongue.
Yes. Yeah, Grima Wormtongue, exactly.
Yeah.
And a lot better looking, by the way.
And you can use those on humanoid tribes, orcs, half-orcs, hobgoblins, goblins. You could use them on warrior human tribes, barbarian tribes, bandit legions, pirate kings, anything like that. Hell, quiet little sects of the Red Wizards of Thay and or the Zentarum can also have issues like that.
All it takes is one bad saving throw versus charm.
Yep. Or suggestion, for that matter. You know, either one will work. And it will be, like I said, a nightmare for the party. I mean,
the question, of course, being, is this demonic creature out there doing it for fun, actively on the grift, or pursuing a greater plan either of their own or in service to someone else? None of which are set in stone unless you want them to be, Game Master.
Of course, and there's no reason to say that she couldn't be on the grift or acting on her own, because they are chaotic evil. Most Alufiends are at least chaotic alignment, if not mostly evil, if not chaotic neutral. I would almost say chaotic neutral would be more of a nightmare for the party, because she could just toy with them, and the chaotic evil would be out to destroy that person.
Gotham fish.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, but we talked about this. Oh God, I don't know how many Splat books ago, where just somebody who has access to those kind of mind control powers can just completely make a party's life living hell without having to actively engage them in anything. I mean, if you really wanted to be a bastard about it, give her a couple of magic items to hide her alignment, let her shape change, and let her work on the party from within. Seduce the scrawny little awkward mage who this sweet little innocent thing thinks is the bee's knees, and the next thing you know, there's charm person attempts going on and suggestion spells being thrown in very seductive manners, and if the PC doesn't tip to it, and well, by the time the DM says, well, make a saving throw, that's the first thing that the player knows something's not kosher. But if you have players who are going to roll with it and not say, oh man, this is BS, what are you trying to do to us, man, and things like that, and just role play it out, it could end up with the DM getting beaten up by his players, or things of that nature. But it all depends.
Don't stick the knife in and twist it. Do not make it Mrs. Moriarty. Do not make it Mrs. Ravenloft. That'll get you duct taped to a table.
and your dice shoved in various orifices. Yes.
Hey, so, Jim, have you used an Alufiend before?
I haven't, but I want to now. Like here I do. Use her as either the power behind somebody else, or what I was just sitting here thinking of is she uses the player character group to forward her own ends. So
of course
she gives them a little bit of an edge, a little bit of what they want, but they're also working for her too.
Yeah, for sure.
And they might not even know it, but she's leading them along, and it seems like they're going really good, and then all of a sudden she springs it on them. She sells them out to somebody else.
Exactly.
She's the little finger in the picture here. She's selling them out to somebody else.
Yeah, Littlefinger with magical abilities for sure. Corey, right. Didn't you kind of do this with your Cambion when you were telling us about the previous game you ran? Corey, did we lose?
I'm here.
Oh,
I was talking with it on mute because I'm eating.
Oh, okay.
I'm still eating. No, I said no with my Cambion. Cambions, if you check the Planescape books, they are not evil.
No.
They are chaotic, but they are not evil.
Correct.
So what I did is I have one in my major metropolis, my Waterdeep, my major city. The Cambion is the head of a merchants guild. And what he does is he hired the PCs, and because the PCs have a paladin, the paladin was the party leader at the time, and he had to face a demon that was not evil.
Yep.
And the guy who plays the paladin, his major goal for his paladin at the time was to destroy any and all demons and devils, but he couldn't justify murder of a citizen of this city that was not inherently evil. So he was sitting there biting the edge of his shield, stopping himself from going smite happy on the Cambion. The Cambion was just sitting there being a businessman, being a chaotic businessman. Listen, I'm going to hire you. Do you want money or not? You look pretty hungry. You starving? Watch me eat this turkey in front of you while you tell me you guys need money.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if he really wanted to be chaotic, he would even eat the turkey live.
No, what he did was he ate it halfway, and then he threw the rest out the window.
That's even better. Awesome. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. That's pretty cool. All right. So that's our second one from FD. Okay, Corey. You want
voicemail?
Yeah, if you want to.
All right.
Yeah, go for it.
You got it. All right, you want to set this up? You know who it is?
Yeah.
We're going to do the first one.
Yeah, this one is from...
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
This is from DM Cal. Go ahead.
Hello, THACO's Hammer. This is DM Cal calling to you on a road trip. I've been catching up, and I just made it through your DM brainstorm of the forest section in Flatbook 91. Loved it. One of the things I wanted to toss in there as a suggestion is looking at, I believe it's Fates and Avatars, second edition book, which gave you real-world religious and spiritual and mythological options. The section on Celtic, where you had things like the Wild Hunt that you could throw in, I think is an excellent addition to this. You're talking Dark Fae, you're talking Portals to the Happy Hunting Grounds, you're talking Primeval Forest. Having a reason not to go out at night, like the Wild Hunt, which will come after you, or the Dark Fae will sick it on you, is a great curse to throw onto players. Have them go, Crud, how do I figure this out now? Thanks for continuing to bring the hammer down, and best wishes to all of you.
There we go.
Yep, there we go. And thank you, Cal. Let's see. I can barely even remember us doing the Dark Forest one. I think when we do these brainstorms, to be honest, I try, or at least this is for me, I don't know how you guys do it, but I try kind of hard to avoid the obvious. As a matter of fact, I will argue against the obvious. I think I've done it a couple of times. But, when we're trying to come together and spitball stuff, I want to just do stuff that, at least in my experience, that I haven't experienced as a player before or run as a DM before. That can be a little difficult sometimes, but yeah. I mean, what about you guys?
I think that our basic idea behind the brainstorm is we're trying to generate shells of ideas, not mapped out completely.
Correct.
We want you to do your add-on to it. We give you the shell of something that is new, unique, and perhaps a approach to a setting you haven't used before. Give you just enough tools to have a framework to then hang your unique character and aspect to it. So if you want your primeval wood to be filled with Dark Fae, go with a primeval wood filled with Dark Fae. If you want it to be filled with the Wild Hunt, go with it. Or if you want it to be filled with something else, go with it instead. If you want it to be haunted by the spirits of the dead, you can go with the haunted wood. You can go with the fey wood. You can go with whatever. We just wanted to give you a shell with a couple of plot hooks hanging around to build off of that with. And then you give us back your feedback of, hey, this is what I did with that DM brainstorm you had for us. It was awesome. Or it blew because I did it this way, or whatever it is you want to tell us about.
Yeah, I mean, with the exception of the Wizard's Tower, I think we pretty much crammed about 7 pounds of crap into a 4-pound bag, but your point is correct. Yeah, that's what we try to do. It's just that once we get rolling, we start playing off of each other. I mean, we're like a jazz band for D&D. Once one person comes up with a riff, another person comes up with something to counterpoint that, and the other person comes in, and the other person comes in, then we're just going around in this little whirlwind until it stops us, or until one of us runs out of ideas, But yeah, I mean, as far as that goes, yeah, we try to give a decent little setting, and have some little pieces of meat in there, but you're the one who's to add in stuff to make it your own. That way you're not just copying what we put out there. Although I still say we should write it. I just don't have the time now.
Yeah, what they said.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Just for a second, I'd like to go back to the original email about the wild hunt and going to the Celtic book. I think that's an interesting thing, but one of the good things about when you do the brainstorm is it kind of inspires me to maybe take a step back and go, all right, this is a setting that we're doing something a little twisted on. Maybe I'll go with like the Aztec setting, or maybe I'll go to the book and pull out the Indian setting and work on that too, and throw in something that you might not. It'll still fit, but it'll just make you think about it a little bit differently, and it'll put the player in a different mindset.
Yep. Yeah, that's exactly what we came up with the brainstorm idea for. It was we were getting some people who were coming back to us saying, how do you guys come up with this? What do you do with it? I had people emailing me and Facebook messaging me asking me, hey, I got an idea. I have a question. What should I do with blah, blah, blah? And so I said, why not make it a portion of the show? We wanted to give people who maybe might not be that creative, who might be going, wow, second edition doesn't have a lot of modules. This kind of blows for me. We wanted to give them empty modules that they could fill, and just like you said, we wanted to take it and go crazy with it, and it's working.
Yeah, people seem to love that segment. I mean, I'm glad that you came up with it, Corey.
Well, it was all of us. I'm not going to take full credit.
Well, yeah. It was, but you had the idea, and we all took it and ran with it. It's a collective effort. Okay. I've got an email here from DM Kevin, and he says, I played every edition but second until recently. The DM was using an alternative XP reward system, which is, I believe, from the DMG. It gave XP for successfully casting spells, using road skills, turning undead, etc. It seemed to favor rogues, and I always felt that my priest was a second-class citizen compared to them. What are your opinions on this system? Okay. Okay, speaking of the DM in Hammers of the Duchy, now the thieves... Yeah, the reason why thieves they seem using the optional class reward system in the DMG, it seems like the thieves get the lion's share of it is because thieves advance so damn fast. I mean, when you have a character class, you only need 1,250 experience points to go up to second level, and what you have to do is basically pick a couple of locks, pick a couple of pockets, open a couple, and do all that kind of stuff. You can advance really fast. Not to mention stealing from your party, but but the whole thing is that I expanded that out a little bit, and what I found out, at least from running Hammers of the Duchy to its stopping point, is that fighters are the ones who actually tend to rule the roost, and that's because they get that nice little 10 XP, or 10 XP per hit dice of monsters defeated. That means every single battle that the fighter actively participates in, and since they are in the front most of the time, dealing out the majority of the damage, and the party as a whole defeats monsters as they're going through whatever adventure they're in, that adds up real fast. I mean, I could go back and look at the numbers, but by far the ones who made out the best were Glen's fighter and Full-On's fighter. They both got like 9,000 experience apiece, and it's mostly because of that little XP per hit dice bonus. Now, somebody else emailed and said I was wrong for using it, or not wrong, but I was using it incorrectly. No, I wasn't. No, I was not. But each class gets their own bonuses for spells cast, or or anything, or abilities used, or anything like that. It's up to the player to actually use them, and not just use them just to say, well, this. There has to be a point behind it. So, that as a DM, that's how it works for me. And you know what? The party, if they survive, they usually advance fairly fast up until they get into the middle levels, and that's where I like it. But Corey? You're a DM. You're a second edition DM. Go for it.
You hit it now pretty much on the head. My thing about clerics is first through fourth level, you're going to suck. You're nothing more than a band-aid machine for most parties. I don't care how much role play is going on. I don't care if you're on a religious quest and your party is using you as your main character. When it comes down to playing D&D and you're working on XP, you're a band-aid machine.
Yeah.
Until you get about 5th level. Once you hit 5th level, and then you can start doing a little bit more offensive spells, or you have a druid in the party who can handle the supplemental healing, or a paladin in the party, or whoever, then you can start unloading. My favorite to do in my campaign world is when I play a cleric, everybody groans when I play a cleric, because I usually pick the god of battle, the god of war.
Of course.
And you don't get healed unless you're fighting.
Yep.
Sorry.
Yep.
There are rules of my ethos that go with my clerical abilities, and when I DM, anybody who plays a cleric in my party and follows those tenets of their ethos, I will give extra XP for.
Correct.
Just telling me, okay, so the party may camp, the wizard's over there in his tent reading up his spells. I'm gonna go pray for it and then go sleep for 8 hours. You do that on my table, yeah, you're gonna advance slow. You tell me that you're going to go off in the woods or hey, somebody wake me up at dawn. I don't care whose guard watch it is. All right, at dawn, since I pray to the goddess of sun and the goddess of rebirth, I went up at dawn, and that's when I'm going to do my prayers and I'm gonna pray in my spells. Blah blah blah. I see you pushing your tenants in role play. Hey, fighter, you keep getting hurt. I got to keep healing you. You know where my magic's coming from? Do you have a few moments to talk about my Lord and Savior, the Goddess of the Sun? That's what I'm talking about. You want some XP in my party? That, as a cleric, that's how you get up almost as fast as a thief. Thieves do this. I didn't steal that. Hey, DM, I'm going to steal that. I didn't steal that. DM, I'm going to steal that. That's what thieves do. That's why, you're a cleric. You have so much more than just being that Band-Aid. And you get your XP balance from, in my campaign at least, by making sure that the cleric plays a religious healer or whatever your god it happens to be. The best was, in my opinion, I gave the cleric was boosted so fast in my one campaign because the guy was actually praying to, essentially, I don't know if any of you know Warhammer, but he made an obscure god of rot and filth. Nurgle, and literally he went with the dirt side, so he never bathed. Everybody hated him. He stunk. They called him Pigpen, as in the Peanuts Pigpen.
Yep.
But as his prayer religious rituals, anybody who was to be receiving healing the following day while they slept, he gave them a soft rub down of dirt. Everybody woke up dirty every single day, and they were angry. But he told them that if you don't let me do this, I can't heal you. Yep. Eventually, everybody begrudgingly is walking around, and then they finally got back into town, and the cleric's like, "Yep, you guys can all thank me." And everybody in town stayed away from the entire party till everybody went and bathed. It was ridiculously hilarious. The guy got so much XP for playing up the cleric. Is awesome.
Yeah, and it also for clerics, there is that nice little caveat that they get a certain amount for casting spells, but if they cast spells to directly further their ethos, they get double.
Yep.
And clerics,
an option.
And the clerics are the second fastest class to advance into the middle levels. So, if, like Corey said, if you are casting your spells to directly further your god's ethos, if you're a battle cleric and you're using battle blessings and things like that, and also adhering to that tenet that, if you didn't participate in the combat, you don't get healing. I don't care if your arm is laying there and you're bleeding out. I don't care.
Yep.
But I mean, you get those bonuses. Yeah, and a cleric using those can advance almost as fast as the thief, if not faster. Because the cleric has, on average, 2 to 3 spells, at first level usually, because of high wisdom. So, all you have to do is not be the mobile aid station, like Corey said. And unfortunately, you're kind of tied into that role for the first, 3 or 4 levels until you reach level 5. So, it's just one of those things where, just use a little bit of thought and just, work it out. and it'll work out for you, especially if your DM approves of what you're doing. So, Vaughn?
Yep.
I have long used that variant XP track, and I actually generated a couple documents. I posted them onto the OSR Gaming forums, both for 1E, 2E, and for 3E, a similar version of it. I scaled it slightly differently for 3E because of things we detected back in the 1E, 2E days. I would give XP for damage. I would give XP for damage received. I would give XP for fumbles, for criticals, out and in. I would give XP for the use of thief skills, but I had to make sure that I scaled that appropriately so that it wouldn't necessarily outstrip everybody else. Because I'm going to try to pickpocket. I'm going to pickpocket him. I'm going to pickpocket him. I'm going to pickpocket him. I'm going to pickpocket him.
Yeah.
I'm going to climb the wall. 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 You don't get XP for every single roll of the 300 rolls they want you to roll for climbing the entire 300-foot cliff.
Correct.
It's going to be the, you successfully accomplish the task, and you get XP for it.
Yeah.
Or same thing with hear noise or move silent or all the other things like that. And it's a little lesser portion because it's so often repeatable for the thief.
Correct.
You don't give them the same scale that you give for the spell casting, which is generally something like 100 per level of the spell they're casting. Yeah, they can rack up pretty quickly through those first level spells on top of everything else they're doing, and that turns into every couple of adventures somebody's leveling. Every couple of adventures somebody's leveling. No matter what scale we were getting into, we could see that happen, and not necessarily peak out any time either. You just have to scale how it's approached and use the DM judgment category of this section of your XP is going to be like the treasure and gold piece value. It could be as little as 1/10 per gold piece, or less if you think it's completely invaluable, or double or whatever, especially if it's something that the thief took the time to actively steal, or the priest actively professed their faith, or the mage actively did whatever they have to do to get more magey, or vice versa.
Right.
You can find the role-playing bonuses on top of the tactical number crunching bonuses in there, but you still scale them appropriately, especially if you find an imbalance, and the imbalance usually comes from a factor of the players detecting the system, start metagaming the system to maximize their number crunch.
Yeah.
At which point you step in as the DM and say, look, I know what you're doing. It's not going to work. I don't care what numbers you have on the log. I'm keeping my log of abuses, and circumstances are going to adjust as needed fit.
Yep. Jim, you there?
Yeah, it's a thing that I do in my games. I give a lot of the role-playing XP, a lot. Sometimes maybe 75% of the total would be from regular XP, and then that extra quarter, or maybe that even last third, would be from role-playing XP. Another thing that I do is I try and provide everybody an opportunity to use their skills somehow.
Yeah.
Every character gets an opportunity. Like my Pathfinder game I'm running right now, I actually am running Temple of Elemental Evil, the old first edition version. I've kind of updated to Pathfinder, so I've had to add spots for the new player classes to have an opportunity to shine. And I put them there. Whether the players pick them up or not, that's their business. I'm not going to hit them over the head with, this is the opportunity for your character to earn something. But I put it there. And part of your role-playing XP is being able to figure out, this is what my cleric can do here, where there's no healing involved, and I can't really hit anybody over the head with a mace. But maybe I can provide a little insight, or we come across a ruined altar in the woods. I'm just going to leave a couple of gold pieces here just to be on the safe side with whatever entity watches this altar.
Right.
And it adds up.
Yeah, for sure.
And it keeps it from being solely hack and slash. It gives them the opportunity to have a well-developed character.
Yep.
Another thing you can do there, if you have a problem with your cleric and you're not getting experience and you are playing second edition, one word. We love it here. Proficiencies.
Yep.
Use them.
Yep.
Your DM should be giving you experience points for proficiently using your proficiencies. Because, so you just got out of a big old battle and the fighter went down below negative hit points twice. Guess what? His armor is in pretty bad disrepair. Oh, you have armor smithing? Okay, you're done praying, right? Go fix the armor. Use your proficiency. The DM should be like, oh, dang, he's using proficiency. Let me give him some XP. So.
No, I totally agree with that. I mean, See that, at least to me, about second edition is that it wasn't just about, busting in the room, killing things, and taking their stuff. Now there were other ways to earn XP that put the onus on the player to come up with, a reason why his cleric, you know, doesn't heal, people in combat or things like that. I mean, it's a role playing thing, and I award good role playing. I mean, that's a major part. That's almost as much a part of earning experience points as it is killing monsters. I mean, if I wanted to break it down and be like, oh, what's 40% monsters, I'd say probably like 20 role playing and 35% spell casting and using your skills. That, breaks down kind of like that. So, the good thing is that, you know, I had to come up with, or at least to me, I had to come up with other ways for a character to earn their XP aside from just killing monsters. And, that way, I can draw the player out saying, look, is everybody else advancing faster than your character? Because you're still using game terms. You're not role playing your character. You came up with a personality. I want your character to play it. And that doesn't mean that you decide to just do the strong silent type who doesn't say anything. It's not like that. I mean, there are opportunities to play your class, not to mention playing your character at the same time, and earning the extra XP and being on a par with your fellow players. So that's just how I've done it for years, because I always felt just killing monsters just for the sake of getting XP, that sort of makes the game one dimensional.
Now, who was that from?
That was from, oh good, you would have to ask me that. That was from oh god, where
Grave
is it?
Dancer?
No, that was from Cal.
No, that was Cal.
Oh,
Yeah,
it's
that
from
was his
Cal.
voice. And speaking of that, I did find the email from Freddie who said doing the Warrior XP bonus wrong, and I'm like, no, because he gives an email. I'll just read it real quick. Brian said when he doles out individual experience point awards, he says each hit dice is worth 10 XP. However, I'd like to point out that the XP award is 10 XP per hit dice per level. For instance, when a 3rd level fighter defeats 3 bugbears, that's 90 experience points. If a 10th level fighter defeats 10 bugbears, that's 3,000 experience points, not 300. No. No, a 10th level fighter does not get that kind of bonus from me.
And that was FD?
Yeah, that was FD.
Let me explain something though, FD, and I'm going to explain to you why you're wrong.
Okay.
Okay? And this goes universally. Brian's right, because it's Brian's game.
Correct.
If that's how he wants to do XP, let him do XP that way.
Yeah.
It might be wrong for your game. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, wrong camera. Your game, but yeah. I'm looking at my other monitor, my other laptop. I'm like, over here. Wait, camera 3. I'm over here.
Camera 3, exactly. Look at the red light above. Anyway, all
right. I think this horse has been beaten sufficiently.
Yeah, it has. It has. And I just want to say one more thing about that. Mm-hmm. It's like, look, going through B5, my version of B5, where you're running into tons of hobgoblins, goblins, and bugbears and things like that, not to mention beating a freaking young red dragon at the end of it. All of that. My whole thing is that there's at least, I'd say probably 100 to 200 hit dice worth of creatures. Do you honestly think that I'm going to give out a multiple a multiple upon a multiple of that? No. Because everybody would be they'd be past 5th level going into 6 at the end of this. And it's like, no, I'm going to run this the way I see fit. And you know what? I haven't had any complaints from anybody, because at the end of it, everybody's like 5th level, except for Corey's character, who advances really slowly, who is, in
I has a
3rd
learning
level
disability.
You need to practice. You need to practice, boy. Anyway, sorry. I was doing a little show enough there. So yeah, I mean, but it's like Corey said, it's what works for my game, and if you want to do it the other way and have your fighters if you do it the right way, your fighters are going to completely outstrip everybody else.
And
So
any of you other DMs
yeah.
out there that want to chime in, dude, write us. Let us know how you do it, or let us know what you think is right, or come back with us and let us. We want some input.
Yeah, let us know how you. You can email us at thacoshammer@gmail.com, and we do have a phone number.
We do? Oh yeah, it's 405-806-0555.
Right on. So let's delve right back into the email bag, which is getting a little less voluminous now. Let's see. Is it your turn? No, you played DM Cal, so it's my turn. Okay. Let's see. I had one and I can't remember. Oh, that's right. It was from DM Gravedancer. Here it is.
There you go.
All right, here it is. He says, "Hey guys, DM Gravedancer here. I was just listening to Splatbook 84, and I wanted to give my opinion about whether or not your listeners like the rant episodes when we go on rants. I, for one, love them. I appreciate listening to your actual feelings, good or bad, about the topics that arise. It shows how passionate you are about what you're talking about, rather than
Spelljammer.
Yeah, exactly. Well, somebody wasn't here, Corey. Anyway,
on purpose.
Yeah,
on
I know.
Purpose. Continue.
It shows how passionate you are about what you're talking about, rather than just reading directly from a module or reading rules. My question: you guys have similar feelings about the different editions and list what you like and don't like about them. Here's a rant for you. Oh boy, this is going to be good. You are tasked with making D&D 6th edition. What is it? How does it play from other editions? What do you make for new rules? Whew. Keep up the excellent work, good sirs. DM Gravedancer. Oh boy. Okay.
Let me know when it's my turn to answer this question.
You go first, Corey, because yeah.
You want me to go first?
Yeah, I got to think about this one. Go for it.
Very simple. I would take the same premise of 3rd edition, and what I would do is I would kick out multiple players' handbook. There'd be a player's handbook 1, player's handbook 2. Player's handbook 1 would be the basis. The basics of D&D, the only book you'd need to play D&D.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what I would do also in the back of that book would be some teaser information about the different variants of D&D. At that point, once we saw the sales from our monster manual, our player's handbook, and our DM's guide, I would then put out Player's Handbook 2, Player's Handbook 3, Player's Handbook 4. Each one of those would be different versions of D&D rules. A 3rd edition handbook, a 2nd edition handbook, advanced or basic Dungeons & Dragons handbook. Then, after about 2 or 3 years of sales, I would take it to the marketing company or marketing department and say, which version made the most sales?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, everybody who played 1st and 2nd edition and some 3rd edition are in their late 20s, early 30s, late 40s, what have you. They have the money, not 12-year-olds who want a paper and pencil version of WoW.
Mm-hmm.
Now we know what versions to focus on and what versions to drop into a trash can.
Mm-hmm.
What I would add in that first player's handbook would be a basic version of the game, just like that they kicked out with 5th edition. That basic version is very simple, and I will begrudgingly give it to WotC that 5th edition primer was set up so beautifully. Anyone can learn to play 5th edition with that. It is set up, and except for a few funny typos, it's a good primer.
Mm-hmm.
But from that point, you could have built on and said, okay, here's the 2nd edition version. Here's the 3rd edition version. This one has THACO. This one has feats. This one has daily powers. Now you buy the books that you want. That would show us, as a company, what version the people want.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I put in it.
That's brilliant. I like that. You know, and in a way, you're trying to say what TSR did from the middle 70s going into the late 80s, or excuse me, late 90s, early 2000s. You basically want to condense that down into like a space of like 5 years. You're basically taking like 25 years of gaming and condensing it down to like 5, right?
Yep.
Oh, yeah, I'm down with that. That's better than anything I could have thought of. You know, I mean, yeah, and my whole thing is that all the editions would get would get products, but the more products that people are buying would get more faster, which is what,
even better.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. To add to this, what I would do
Mhm.
is I'd put out that basic primer and give everybody a basic Dungeons and Dragons.
Mhm.
Then what I would do is give everybody a 2-year membership or a 1-year membership to D&D Insider or whatever for free, as long as they bought the book, an actual book.
Right.
At that point, I would have 4 different R&D departments or research departments.
Mhm.
Each one of the separate departments. Hey, you over there, you're making 2nd edition THACO heavy modules.
Mhm.
You, 3rd edition, you're making 3rd edition feat heavy modules, et cetera, et cetera. Put them for digital download online.
Mhm.
Look at the internet sales after a year.
Yeah.
You don't even have to put out books.
You're stepping on my rant. My rant was going off on the modules, adventures, modules, adventures, modules.
Yes.
You need more than base game books.
I agree.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it's a creative game, it's a creative world, and there are creators out there who make creative things.
Mhm.
Roger that? You're here.
Roger.
But people are lazy,
Yep.
people are tired, and people don't have time.
Yep.
So you need to give a spectrum. Don't throw all your eggs in one basket.
Mhm.
Don't just throw out starter module, bada, 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 bada. Don't just throw out super box set with every I dotted and T crossed.
Mhm.
Blend it.
Yeah.
Give a variety. Give a couple of spectrums of stuff. Not just because any one is through the whole spectrum of your game cycle. No one is going to be the end-all be-all of sales. You're going to have experienced GMs who want to create their own stuff. They just need base-setting books, and they'll create their own stuff.
Yep.
You're also going to have people who want to take modules and run as written. So they're going to need more details to be included in the first place to have all the information they need to run as written. Then you're going to have the halfways who are going to take something that has a shell and have pieces they fill in. You're going to need all of that. You're also going to need to access the creative outlet of your audience.
Mm-hmm.
Have a venue in which, Dungeon Magazine, they can produce adventures for you
To make profit on.
others.
To make profit on for your company.
Agreed. That is like the one.
We'll sign it in, sign it over, create stuff. Even if they did it just like they did with the OGL, and it was 2,000 companies producing adventures for you, means there's adventures out there for every theme, style, gameplay, mood, genre that you want to get into. There's a source that can give you a little slim booklet that I just need to page through as I run the adventure. A deep set box set with pages and pages of maps and 3 books of adventures for levels up to 20.
Yeah.
Something I can run in a day. Something I can run over a week or a month. Something I can make a year-long or more campaign out of.
Yeah.
All of those have a place in your market. And you need to not kneecap yourself by thinking your market has a single face. It doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
You need to appeal to all of it, and not all of it is going to be necessarily profitable.
Yeah.
Which is the problem.
Yeah, that is
Find
the problem.
a way to minimize it and cross-level some expenses, but you can make things make money for you by offering them the variety. And eventually, they're going to need adventures to play.
Mm-hmm.
Don't think it's like Game Cycle for video games where you've got to publish the new edition, version 6.4, by next year. You don't. You've got to put out content now. It's all about the content.
That's.
I'm sorry, I'm ranting.
No, it's fine. Well, he asked us to rant. I mean, that's the whole thing. I mean, that's how things have changed. With the explosion of the internet from the early to mid 90s to the present day. Now, I mean, the internet has been a staple in our lives for 20 years now, and that's the whole thing. It's about the content. That's one of the things that basic D&D and first edition got absolutely right. Not only did they put out their own stuff, they didn't ruthlessly go after companies like Mayfair and Blades and this company and that company who put stuff out that was compatible with basic and first edition. That's where they shot themselves in the foot when it came to second edition. That's like the only major complaint about second edition is that there wasn't enough module support. Sure, you had Dungeon Magazine where you had all of these brilliant writers, and not all of it was great, but most of it was. You had these brilliant writers coming in, and they made good setting neutral adventures. They made stuff specifically for Mystara, for Forgotten Realms, for Dragonlance, everything. They had it all in there. That was in some ways, not always, but in some ways that was the saving grace for second edition, because the modules that came out were so sporadic because they were constantly supplements for the gaming world and didn't put out the adventures to go with them as much as they put out the product, or put out the settings. And that's the one thing that still kills me to this day. I mean, I'm looking up to my upper right where my bookcase is. The top shelf of it is the Splat books and all the modules that I've collected throughout the years since the early 80s. And there's a reason why I've rewritten a bunch of basic and some first edition modules, because those were the best ones. Second edition. I mean, I've got second edition modules up there, but there are some that I can't run because it just doesn't feel right. It doesn't have the right flavor for my game. I mean, I've got it there for reference material and very little else. There's stuff that I haven't touched in literally years, but that's the whole thing now. You have to have not only the rule set. You don't have to have the settings to go with the rule set. You have to have, like Full-On said, the various types of modules, the ones that someone can run straight out of the book. They just open up the shrink wrap and they can get right into it, read it a couple times, and they can run it for their party that Friday. The stuff that, like Full-On said, that's complete just of a shell, and you just fill it with stuff that falls out of your head and everything in between. That's what coupled with your idea, Corey, about doing it in steps, and doing it like that, that would be the ultimate edition of D&D for me, because you can take what's in this huge bowl, and you can this huge smorgasbord of rule complexity and supplements and settings and adventures. You can take what you want and leave the rest there if you choose to.
Yeah.
Still D&D.
That's what they tried to do with the new edition. Unfortunately, in my opinion, it failed. Now, I want to add something to it before we ask our guest what his thing would be. My other thing would be for this is what they should do. And if anybody at WotC is listening, or anybody who knows anybody who works at WotC, tell them to listen to this episode.
Please.
Because this is what you need to do.
It may not come out until June, but yeah.
You want to get a bigger base. So this is what you do. You say that you allow THACO. You say that you allow feats. You say that the game is built for every version of D&D. Awesome. What you do is you put out a giant advertising casting call for people to send you their modules for your new version of D&D. Then what you do is you let your editing department go through them, make sure that they're up to par, and you put them out. You ready for this? As the player series.
Yeah.
Second edition and first edition had Gold Box. They were the classics. Fifth edition can immediately have this new collector series called the Players Collection, or the Gaming Collection, and they're all player-run games. All of those could be run under a license, saying as soon as they send them to you, you own them. Guess what? You have free modules to print for profit.
Absolutely.
You know what else you get those free modules from? I did this for Wizards of the Coast. I was a freelance, a.k.a. unpaid intern, editor for the RPGA for Adventures.
Yeah, I've seen you
adventures. People donate their skills to edit. They produce the edits for the adventure. They verify it's good to use for a con. It runs at a con, and then you say, "Hey, we published an adventure that was run at a con." Where do we see great, wonderful adventures that had that kind of lineage come from? Oh, way back in the way back day,
Yeah.
where all your GDQSAU modules came from?
Yep. Almost all of them were. It's true. And folks, just to support full on point there, I did find, I remember I'm looking at the bottom of my shelf where all my Star Wars D20 books are. He has credits in there. He was a playtester for both versions, not just the original version, but also the revised core rulebooks. Hell, and I hate to bring up a sore subject, but yeah, he tried to do a Star Wars D podcast. I helped him with that. This man knows what he's talking about. He knows that he's put in the play testing time. He's put in the submission time. He knows what he's talking about. So listen to him when he's saying that. If anyone for WotC happens to hear this podcast, but anyway, enough of us, three of us ranting. How about yourself, Jim? What would you do?
I'm hearing what you guys are saying, and I totally get it, and I totally buy into it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a lot of what Paizo is doing with Pathfinder. They take all that good stuff that people are putting out there. The main company, they're printing rule books, big, heavy rule books and game settings. And the smaller players, your Green Ronins and Goodman Games, they're putting out the fill-ins, that mid-level and lower-level stuff. And there's a lot of people in the open gaming community, someday maybe, are putting out even smaller stuff that people will pick up and run, not right out of the box maybe, but with just a couple minutes of looking through it, you can put those things into effect in your game. And they just take that big spoon and stir up the pot and see what comes up. They don't lock it down like Wizards of the Coast did, where you have to buy through them or you have to have their logo on it. When they switched to 4th Ed and they had their GSL license in it, and it was really controlled. I think people out there making their own thing, and that's the best part of the hobby, because I can take what you guys are doing and I can throw it into my game, and I can come back and tell you this is what worked, this is what didn't, this is what players liked, this is what I liked running it. Made it easier, made it more fun for me, a little unexpected or whatever. I think I know we don't like to edition bash here, but I think that Pathfinder has gone a little bit beyond what even the new 5th Ed is doing as far as getting the gamer community actually involved.
Yep, I agree to that. Cool.
Have we successfully ranted for you?
I believe we've ranted. That's enough. We'll move on. I'll take it over from here. Well, should we work on an older Jeff FD one, or a newer FD one, or a middle FD one? Since we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 FD ones in here.
Let's get old FD so he doesn't complain that we didn't get his FD.
Oh yeah, there we go. Okay.
You don't have any Kojo this week?
No, actually, we do not.
Oh, I was hoping I was going to get a Kojo on my guests.
I know. He's been. I think he's been doing with his kid and doing the family things, but we haven't heard from him for a while. This is an old one. Okay, yeah, this one is dated. All right, so we have another one from FD. Just listen to most of Splat Book number 43. I know I have a way to go, but I'm slugging through them as quickly as I can. It's all really great stuff. I love the interaction between you all and the fact you all have different personalities and quirks, and makes it a fun program to listen to. I usually listen to you on my daily commute to and from work. I also listen to you when I work out at the gym. I get a little kick lifting weights and zerging the machines, listening to perhaps the nerdiest MP3s on the entire floor. Thanks. It sure beats the worthless techno pop that regurgitates through the building and is easier than constantly shuffling through my eclectic catalog of crust metal, sludgecore, gangster rap, and roots reggae. In any event, while listening to Splat 43, a few things cause me to think and make myself laugh. The first is when you guys were talking about wishes and the potential to have one come from a pit fiend. I believe Full On Gamer said something about a pit fiend lawyer. While I don't play Planescape anymore, or currently rather, the first thing that came to my mind was the adventure in Sigil where there was some sort of a trial going on, and the district attorney or defense attorney being a pit fiend. I could totally see Perry Mason set up with the pit fiend wearing a nice suit and pacing before the judge and jury. The other thing that came to mind was when you all described the genie from Aladdin. As you all know, Robin Williams just died, and it will bring a little sentimental heart tug to me. Unlike most on the internet, I'm not going to pretend like he was a hero. Kirkanso fought the entire Cold War by himself or any other ridiculous things, but he was a funny dude. Now he's one of his better roles. Keep up the good work, guys. FD.
Okay. Let's see. Well, I'll address the Planescape part of it, even though I haven't really played in it, but we covered Planescape in a previous one, and yeah, there's so much. There's another setting going back to the previous rant. There's another setting that I think they kind of got right, but at the same time, it's like there's just so much there because you're not just dealing with a world, you're dealing with the planes surrounding it, which are limitless unto themselves, and yeah.
Multiverse?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think there's a couple of modules where the party basically gets to save the multiverse, if I'm not mistaken, at some point.
Yeah.
Or at the very least, resurrect a major Forgotten Realms deity. But yeah, I mean, that's what we're here for, Freddie. We're here to kind of just, talk, come up with some topics and just, wax or rant or discuss or in some cases even argue about, the various topics we come up with because we have varying opinions, even though our opinions might vary, but most of the time, I'd say probably 75% of the time we all agree. We all are in agreement about whatever it is.
And on a good day, all the above.
Yeah, for sure. Let's put it this way: when I'm sweaty and my voice is hoarse, and my brain feels like it's stuffed with cotton afterwards. Yeah, that was a good night. That was a good night at the podcast for sure. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Anyone have anything to comment on that one with?
Yeah, I did think of the lawyer bit with the when he was talking about the personal lawyer as the Alufine giving away wishes and being a rules lawyer. It is funny to think that if you read Planescape, the devils themselves are lawful and the demons themselves are chaotic.
Yeah.
And the lawfulness allows them to have some semblance of a society. And yeah, you're right. Imagine if every human being is normal and we consider lawyers slimy scumbags. Imagine a demonic lawyer.
Yeah.
I mean, and yeah,
they made supernatural episodes out of that.
Yes, they did.
This is true. Yeah. But yeah, it's a good thing when you get in there and mess around in Planescape and look at the different nuances. Like I'll bring it up again, the Cambion. I was looking through trying to find something that I could throw at the party that would make them lose their wig, and I did. I found a demon that is not evil, and they're like, "This is not right. My brain's not working. There's something going on here." Yep.
Yeah,
that's
for
all
sure. Yeah. What about you, Fawn?
I said my piece.
Oh, you did?
Yep.
Okay. Sorry,
Yep.
I was answering Call of Nature. Jim?
Planescape in general is something that is so expansive. You really have to nail it down for the players. You got to make every adventure group specific, because if you can't keep them on focus, it's just going to get way out of hand.
For sure.
And I think having something like that Perry Mason-esque character to anchor it down into the game will make it easier for them to relate to what's going on. Instead of just having this massive multiverse sandbox to go play in, they really have to focus on what it is that they're supposed to be doing. You don't want to railroad them, but you want to keep them on point with their mission that they're doing too, whether it's grabbing something, doing some kind of raid or fighting a case in court. You got to keep them focused on what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and like we've said before, it's going to have rails. They may be hidden rails, but there's going to be rails because there's a beginning, a middle, and an end of the story. There has to be a structure that points at the objective of the story, whatever it is, and the players have to buy into seeking that route path of story. And the DM has to buy into presenting a navigation way through the morass of whatever that story is. And with something that's like Planescape, you're going to have so many options. You have to learn to narrow your focus. It can't always be the multiverse is going to collapse if we don't do X, Y, and Z. Eventually, people get upset that the multiverse is so fragile. Why not just have a go adventure on the Happy Hunting Grounds? Why not just have a descent into Mechanus? Why not just have we're going to go lubricate some gears down there? Why, we have to kidnap somebody from the middle of the Modron March. I don't know. Whatever it is you want to do, but get something specific enough to be structured, but still make use of the open multiverse you have at your fingertips.
Yep.
That the opportunities for role play are just boundless. I mean, I was thinking about it while you guys were talking. It's like the potential to get distracted is like Forgotten Realms times 10. Forgotten Realms, every campaign, Forgotten Realms campaign I've played in, we've had something we were supposed to do, and we get so sidetracked that the main focus of the main point, the main goal, is almost becomes, I don't even want to say secondary, I'd say tertiary at certain points.
All
Sidetracked by
Mega
other
City,
stuff.
Same reason.
Mega City adventure settings suffer that.
Yeah.
Same reason I can't ever beat Knights of the Old Republic 1 or Knights of the Old Republic 2 or Skyrim. I won't play them because I get so sidetracked with side quests. It's like playing Baldur's Gate. I get lost in Baldur's Gate 1, Baldur's Gate 2, Icewind Dale. I'm like, what was I doing?
Yep.
Hold on, I gotta go back to my quest list.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous why I can't play those games anymore because the world is so expansive and the world is so in depth and rich. You get lost. You're like, I don't know. And playing those games, I've learned to curb my own mega cities because it is overwhelming for a lot of players. Some players, especially newer ones, they need a railroad.
Yeah.
Until they realize I should write this crap down so I focus on what we need to do.
Yeah.
They need a railroad.
Yeah, and that's because, we get so just off track and whatnot. I'd have to write down, it's like, guys, we're supposed to be doing this and this and this. We can't so occupied and obsessed with that. Let's do this first, then we'll come back to that. That can wait. I had to be sort of I had to herd some cats. But, I was just thinking about, Corey, you're absolutely right as far as, like, playing Skyrim and stuff. I just bought that for my Xbox 360.
Dude, forget it.
I know. It's like, it's nuts.
I'm on the quest.
I
I'm on the
barely
quest to become
started
the
it.
Dragonkin. I'm going to become the Dragonkin 6 hours later. I'm a werewolf running through the forest. I'm attacked. What was I doing? What's going on?
Hard right turn after hard left turn after complete running in circles. Yeah, exactly.
While the various settings that are out there present some wonderful, nuanced cities, the city of towers, the city of doors, Greyhawk, Waterdeep, all the above, don't lose yourself in make them a jump-off point. Make sure you kick people out the damn door into the adventuring world.
Absolutely.
To go do something else out there. Experience a little bit of everything.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more. I could not agree more. And Planescape is just like, you have to have a little bit more of a narrow focus than your average campaign world to make it work for everybody to be, for everybody to kind of stay on point, or even just to do little side things here and there, but never stray too far away from the main path. What's that? You all right, Corey?
Yeah, I just failed my roll save against Stinking Cloud. Just keep going. Oh my god, dog, you stink.
Oh my god, dude. At least you're not throwing up. But anyway, all right, let's move on to another email. And that was that Gravedancer?
Nope.
No.
That was FD.
Oh, it's FD? Okay. Yeah.
I was going to read this one from Gravedancer if you want me to. You ready?
Yeah, go for it. Do it.
All right. Joseph Walker, I don't know if we did this before, but I clicked on inbox and it was in here. So it's the one where to go. It's the planning. Hey guys, I'm DM Gravedancer here with another question. I'm currently planning a campaign for my group and wanted to give them something that is either going to make them love me or result in D20s flung at me. Here's the scenario. After the players have brought their starting equipment and feel all good going on their first quest, I wanted them to drink health potions given to them from an NPC they are quote-unquote helping, and wake up on an island with all of their equipment gone and no armor. Yes, Corey, I'm seriously thinking of throwing in the inevitable. You wake up face down and you have a mysterious pain in your ass. Basically, I want to do Survivor AD&D edition on an island with monsters hiding in the dark. I was thinking an old pirate treasure hideout that was abandoned. You get the idea. Basically, I was looking for tips, tricks, perhaps a module or map that I may use to steer me in the right direction. Keep in mind these are level 1 characters. I was thinking of giving them some free proficiencies at character creation to help them along. Anything you guys can supply me with would be greatly appreciated. DM Grave answer.
Well, first off,
Go ahead,
you're
Full-on.
going to anger them with the whole you've geared up and you're prepared for an adventure
Yeah.
and you wake up naked.
Yeah. It's
Going to be angry if they were not in on that joke from the get-go.
Yeah, it's turned from Fellowship of the Ring to Naked and Afraid. Yeah.
I've done that to people, and I'm going to tell you, you will get people mad at you.
Yes.
I've watched them for 3 hours work on character sheets all around the table, get excited, and as soon as they sat down and pulled their dice out, and I went, okay, let's play. Everybody hand me your character sheet. I hand them back a blank one. With the same stats on. They were so pissed off at me, it was not even funny.
Yeah, you kind of can't do that. I mean,
as far as resources go, if you want something piratey, treasury, and useful and recycled and available for use, let me point you at the Isle of Dread.
That's
making
exactly
its
right.
reappearance in the treasure maps flat book thingy of map adventures where they just give you a map on one side and an adventure on the other, and that's the entire adventure core.
Yeah, basically it's...
And it is the Isle of Dread. They just turned the map upside down and reprinted it.
Yeah.
It's the same damn island.
They didn't even... Wait.
Different products.
Time out. They use the exact same...
Exact
same
island.
Dude.
They literally made north, south, and south, north, and went, reprint it. Let's do this. It's a genius move. And guess what?
I don't know.
It's sold.
Well, of course it did. What's old is new again. We all know this, but
is that why we're on episode 103?
Yeah, I guess so. But
old is new again. We're popular.
Yeah, I mean, let's see. Yeah, this comes. And I hate to be this guy, but I'm gonna be this guy. This comes back to the social contract of playing D&D. If you're going to pull this on your players, you have to give them at least a little bit of advance warning. You just can't do what Corey did. Because if they had one of those freaking 60 millimeter D20 he likes to use, they'd have flung it at his head and put a dent in his skull. It's cool to do, but you have to understand that you have to do this up front. You have to talk to them about it up front. You just kind of have to. This isn't 1983 anymore where you can pull this and your players are like, okay. No, this is 2014, and people are playing D&D kind of for the same reasons, but they want to have fun and be entertained by the game. Unless you are playing with people that you've been playing with for years, I wouldn't do it. That's just my personal thing. I mean, it's bad enough when I run it like my rewritten Castle Amber, which I will be putting everyone through if we ever get back to Hammers of the Duchy.
Oh yeah, boxing for me.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I got something for you. But anyway, where that whole module starts is the players are going one way for the night. The next thing they know, they wake up in the foyer of Castle Amber. And then everyone's like, well, what the F, dude? I'm going to try and get out through this. Well, no, you can't. Make a saving throw. I failed it. You take 5 points of damage because now you feel sick and things. The further you go, the worse it gets. Oh, I guess I'll just go on ahead with it. And then you've got to kind of work twice as hard to suck your players into the crazy, magical, wondrous adventure that is Castle Amber. Let's put it this way: by the time they get to the garden, they're in my experience. But you have to work a little harder to get them in, and God only help them if one of them drinks that damn amber wine. And they fail their saving throw, because then it's like, okay, that's when you take the character sheet from them and hand them a blank one. But it's one of those things where, if you have players that you've been playing with for years, you could possibly get away with it. But even then, give them just a little heads up before you do it. That's just me.
And
What about you, Jim?
besides being a scumbag move for the players, I mean, think about the characters in that position. Like you're taking these first level guys and sticking them with no support, no anything out on an island of pirate treasure and monsters and whatever that they're gonna have to go around and pick up the same stuff they just bought anyway.
Right.
It's gonna put that. If you're really in your character's head, you're gonna first off be put out of it, and second, really gonna want to reach across the table and choke somebody.
Yep. I mean, especially if you run the wilderness like you're supposed to run it, which they don't give an F.
Right.
I've been just last week, myself, and, I was watching Naked and Afraid with a friend of mine, and we're sitting there, and people who, at least one of them, is trained in survival techniques, and they are dropped in some of the nastiest, most inhospitable places on the face of the earth, and they tap out before their 2 weeks is done because they can't deal with it because it's too much. And now a lot of it's because of active stupidity, like this one decides to drink stream water without boiling it first. It's like, I'm not even a Boy Scout and I know to do that. But and he decided to do it, and he basically gave himself 3 different viruses that almost literally killed him. And if you run it like that, in a
from
D&D
Uranus
game,
is fun.
What's that?
Bleeding from Uranus is fun.
Yeah, exactly.
Stream water good, pond water bad. Stream water good.
No, he drank from a stream and he still got sick. But yeah, but my whole thing is that I'm not saying you have to go balls to the wall and bust out the wilderness survival guide, but if you even run it remotely like you are quote unquote supposed to, if all it takes is just a couple of blown proficiency checks, and then dehydration and starvation start setting in. Never mind, the giant insects or indigenous peoples on that island, and that. I mean, it ain't Gilligan's Island, Joe. I'm serious. It's gonna be tough. It always is, especially if you've got let's see, first level paladin, 18 whatever strength and this, that, and the other thing, and he's a badass in his plate mail and his longsword, and all of a sudden he doesn't have a longsword, and now he's got to use a spear, which he's not proficient in, and he's first level. Think about all that.
Yeah, what I personally, you were starting to get on the right track there, Joe. First thing I would do is let them make their character sheet. Tell them don't put any weapons on. Tell them don't put any equipment on.
Mm-hmm.
Or better yet, write their equipment on a separate sheet of paper. Now, what you do is let them finish their character, fill out their proficiencies, take their character sheet, and give them some general proficiencies. Maybe the one guy's dad was a weaver, and he has weaving skills, but it's low. Give them other proficiencies that maybe come out of their backgrounds that might help them if they're stuck in the wilderness. Mm-hmm. Maybe the one guy's dad is a lumberjack, what's his name? Yeah, the axeman, the lumberjack.
Mm-hmm.
The woodsman.
Yeah,
maybe his dad's a woodsman, and maybe his dad taught him, some techniques in the woods. So they get on this island. Maybe their items are lost on the island somewhere. Roll a percentage for each item on their list that maybe made it to the island and it's somewhere else on the island. It was collected by those monsters.
Oh, so now it's gone from Naked and Afraid to Path of Exile.
Right.
There's more to think of it too. Is naked on an island with all your stuff somewhere on the island has to have a root cause.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
What is the story of why this has happened?
Okay.
Were they used as indentured servants of the pirates who were disposable people and were going to be left on the island to die with their bones after they buried the treasure because they were mind-controlled into burying it and then left behind? But why would they leave behind their treasure, their stuff as well? So
I was going with
this
more
pirate camp, pirate lair. Did they escape?
I was going to a more evil route. I was going to say this ne'er-do-well NPC who gave them the potions that they drank and got passed out was doing it to rob them and Shanghai him onto a boat.
Yeah.
When he got onto the boat got attacked by pirates. The guy died. Their items got buried on the island by those pirates. They were left there, and they woke up. The pirates didn't give a damn about them. Let them starve to death on the island that's holding their very own treasure. It'd be funny to the pirates.
Not just naked on a beach, have a shipwreck there. Have ruins of the ship be there and float some and jets them to give some clue as to what happened to them. That the boat went down. It failed. It got taken by the Kraken. It got sunk by the pirates. It burnt to the water line. Something.
So it turns into Shogun.
Have a pool of resources available for them to tap. To not just think, oh shit, we're naked and afraid on a friggin' beach. We need to have some immediate resources, whether it's the clothes on their backs.
Yep.
Unless they were, galley slaves, they're going to have the clothes on their backs.
Yep.
Or sex slaves, one of the two, depends on the color of your adventure. I don't know if you're going to go blue with this or not. He did say he was going to have them wake up naked on the beach with a pain in the rear.
Ass, yeah.
So that's your call if your party can handle that, but be prepared. The DM may wake up naked and afraid with a pain in his rear on the roof of his car.
You want an idea of how to do this to your players? I'm going to tell you a good movie to watch, but just keep a medieval stint in your mind when you watch it. Good movie, classic movie, Enemy Mine.
Yeah.
Go watch Enemy Mine. Have them wake up with the shipwreck. They may know each other. They may have just been put together with an adventuring guild and told to go work with this guy. And guess what? They now have to help each other survive. Dude, what do you know? I know how to build a fire. Awesome. Go build it. I've fished before. I have a proficiency in fishing. There's the what are those nets called? The netting that they use on ships to climb.
Rigging.
Yeah, there's some rigging in the water. I'm going to go fashion us a fishing net. I'll be right back and hopefully have dinner, have a fire ready. Now they're working together and they're building something. Maybe they all work together, roll some strength checks, and they lift a large section of that boat out of the water. They now have a shelter. Let them go a little Bear Grylls with it, or not Bear Grylls. What's his name? Les. Let them do Les Stroud. Let them be Survivor Man and build a shelter. Then as they're building, they might see some, what's that mark on that tree? Hey, any guys make this mark on a tree? DM, where'd that mark come from? I don't know, but it looks old. Maybe a ranger mark, or, somebody's marking something. I'm going to go around and investigate. Bam, you now have a rail to run them on. Now they have something to do on this island.
Right.
If the ship that they were kidnapped on and then sunk from is part of the ruins and wreckage there, the ruins and wreckage of the ship can have resources. It can have strong boxes in the ship, maybe under 20 feet of water, maybe in a underwater air-filled chamber of the ship that they can get to. So it's not just going to kill them by getting to it, then they can get out with maybe a sword to share among them or some daggers or something.
Yep.
Yeah.
Belaying pins. I got me a club.
I understand he's trying to go for Survivor, but in this aspect, unless you tell your players to pick, a survival skill or something like that, it's not going to work so well, because that's why I keep saying, give them advance warning so they know.
Yeah. Listen, Joe, you're right, Brian, because that's essentially what I did for this new campaign that I'm running first of the year. My players I'm like, guys, I'm taking over DMing reins again, new year, new campaign, we're going to start running it. I'm DMing everybody starting 3rd level. First thing that came out of somebody's mouth, hey, I'm playing a centaur. Hey, dude, do you think I can play a minotaur out of the humanoid handbook? Dude, I want to play a furbog. Hey, guys, what? It's going to be a city campaign. Telling them that did not wait for them to build that giant character sheet up and then me go, no, you can't play that.
Correct.
Letting your DM know some of the information. You don't got to tell them everything. I didn't tell them that it's going to be a psionic heavy campaign where there's invaders of Iliathids underground. I didn't tell them any of that information, but I told them it's going to be in a city. I told them that somebody in the party needs to be a psionicist or you guys are going to have a bad time. And it's going to be a city. You got to give them some information.
Drop the hint, it's a coastal campaign with possible seafaring.
Yep.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep. And that's all you need to do, because usually, unless they're just being ridiculous, they'll get the hint that, like, maybe I shouldn't take etiquette here. Maybe I should take sailing. Maybe I should take fishing, something like that.
Oi, etiquette has its place, parlay.
For sure.
We cannot acquiesce to your request.
Yeah, it's more a set of guidelines, really. Anyway, okay, and thank you for that email, DM Gravedancer. Shall we do one more before we wrap up?
I've got time. How about you guys?
Oh, I've got time a little bit, at least until my son starts,
Jim, you
screaming
good?
his head off.
Yeah, I'm good for one more. Sure.
Full on?
Bring it.
All right, let's do it.
Do it.
Go ahead.
Well, all right. What about that second voicemail from DM Cal?
All right, I'll play the second voicemail from DM Cal.
All right.
THACO's Hammer. This is DM Cal. I have a thought that's been rattling around in my head, and I wanted to get your guys' favorite fantasy race, aka L4 Fork, yada yada, plus your favorite real historical culture combination. What do you think works really well? What do you think has been played out and could go better? Do you really like your dwarves with that Scottish feel to them, all in the Highlands and the clans and the inter-clan rivalries, or do you prefer it where there's a bit of like the modern Israel feel to them, where they feel paranoid, it's set on all sides, and constantly, trying to see if they can survive to the next day, whether it's a real threat or not? To Rome, or do you like them where they've just been crashed down and they're trying to put it back together? I think this is a great way to. Full-on always talks about Eberron as a place that people really like because you did a lot of things differently. So I'm wondering, what are some other places to be mined? If you got any really good combinations that work in your game world, I'd love to hear them. Thanks so much, and keep bringing the hammer down. Bye.
Thank you. Yeah, that's a good one.
I'll wait.
All right. Oh, I know what you're gonna say, because you've pretty much taken every race and put it on its head, and I'm pretty sure what Full-On's gonna say, but I'll start. Okay, my favorite race. I hate doing it because it's so damn cliche. But
wait.
Go ahead.
It's the last email.
Okay.
Jim.
All right, go ahead, Jim. Do it.
All right, my favorite combination to play or run has always been dwarves in the mix of Hasidic diamond merchant and Scottish. I think that it works. It's almost stereotypical, but it works well. People know it coming in. You give that little accent or just the little emphasis on how they talk, and all of a sudden people are buying what you're selling them. You could have the silliest adventure ever. You could be running, Glory Hole Dwarven Mine, but if you sell it the right way, they're gonna buy it. I think that works well. And what I like to do, I run elves like the Muslims at the end of the Spanish Reconquista. Like they're the high society. They have the science and the knowledge, and the barbarians are coming and throwing them right out. And I just like that sense that they're coming to the end of their day, and they're just trying to leave as much as they can behind them, hoping that someday the next society, the humans, the orcs, whoever's going to come next, might someday achieve what they achieve. But those are my two favorite, the Moorish elf and the Hasidic diamond merchant Scottish dwarf.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's awesome. Glory Hole Mine.
Yeah, that's an old Judges Guild adventure.
Judges Guild.
Yeah, it's one of those. Glenn swears by it. But yeah, when I first did it a little askance myself. But anyway, for me, my favorite race to play and my favorite race in general, because I hate to say it, but I kind of identify with them, are half elves. I've always had the best time role-playing half elves. That's why I kind of stick with it. Let's see. I mean, there was somebody who actually, I'm pretty sure that either Corey Fawn, you know about this, who actually came out with a complete half elf supplement that he wrote himself, which was wonderful. Right, I've said it before, right up until a time where he starts biting off Star Wars and biting hard. I mean, we're talking pit bull lockjaw kind of biting. What he did. But anyway, as far as my whole thing about how I various races, I try really hard not to go stereotypical with like dwarves and elves, although their roles are kind of the same. It's more along the lines of it's basically they're trying to figure out what to do because humans have basically kind of come in with their almost unlimited potential for power and their ability to breed to them like rabbits. Their ability to kind of they've come in and they've kind of taken over and they find themselves kind of encroached upon, but at the same time they've learned to survive under those circumstances. They don't look at humans with a lot of trust, but at the same time, they're willing to work with them because that helps with their survival. And also I hate to use the word, but the proliferation of fertility goddesses for both the elves and the dwarves is slowly turning around their fertility issues. It's going to take probably another couple hundred, no, I'd say probably couple of thousand years for them to kind of come back to something of a balance. But yeah, and I really have. This has always been my bugaboo with Forgotten Realms. They decide to go way too much with Tolkien and the elf thing, and the dwarves just want to stay in their kingdoms. It's like BS. Because no, there are wonderful ways, for all the races to interact. They may not do quote unquote correctly, and some of them may turn into skirmishes and outright wars, but at the same time, they do have a role to play in my campaigns. As far as ethnicities go, I run the gamut. I mean, I've run dwarves like Scottish Highlanders. I've run dwarves like German watchmakers. I've run dwarves like I've run dwarves like almost human in their personalities and quirks. Like who's ever heard of a dwarven warrior who is soft spoken and almost immaculately groomed, and things like that. But I don't try to go with type as much as some others might do. I mean, when Glenn rolled up his dwarf character and he decided to play him more or less like Boris Badenoff, I was happy. And then he told me, he's like, dude, I played dwarves like Scottish warriors for as long as I can remember. I'm kind of tired of it. I'm like, go for it. This is your character. Do what you will with it. So, I just, however, it all depends. Full on.
I run things more than I get to play things, so I try to give people what they expect when they come into the game setting. But I do like some of the things that are out there that take things and turn it on their head for you. I always like anything that turns it on its head. He already said how I like the Eberron. I like lots of things about Eberron, not just the humanoid empire trying to be resurgent after it's on its way down. Mm-hmm. There's also the Dark Elves of Zendrick, which are surface-dwelling drow who do insect armor.
Ooh.
And are barbarians.
I like
you
it.
have halflings riding velociraptors. You have dwarf bankers.
Yep.
Who really bring a whole nother aspect to a cutting-edge loan deal. But then you've... Yeah. I do other things too. I have, the one-off NPCs that are going to be the odd man out. I've got the skeevy, slimy goblin. Everybody knows them, but how about the hyperactive, crack on meth goblin hotel proprietor?
Crack on meth? Wow.
Yes, crack on meth.
Yeah.
Really tweaking. But,
yeah, for sure.
Take a character, take a concept, stand it up on its head, and look at it through a different prism. Try it out different. Go for the barbarian elf. Go for the civilized orc. Go for let's try the uncivilized human barbarians. I mean, I liked Elf Quest for a reason. Mm-hmm. It had, the halfling barbarian or half-elf barbarians. And, yeah, I play half-elves a lot, too.
Yeah.
Because they're just there.
Yeah.
But you don't have any particular culture to settle. Half-elves don't have a culture because they're half-elves. They're outcast by everybody.
Yep.
Or they're embraced by everybody as the blending of races and species for the further unifying evolution of the world. Who knows? And that could be an aspect that gets you reinvigorated magic, or it dilutes the magic and everybody thinks it's a bad thing. It could be any number of things. I don't, and I've done the well-groomed, quiet-spoken dwarf monk martial artist.
Yeah, and
I had a blast doing it.
Yeah, and that all depends pretty much on who you play with and who's your actual DM. But yeah, for sure. Okay, Corey, floor is yours. Buckle in, everyone.
Anyone who's listening to the show, I've talked about my world and what I've done to my world. First things first, as far as putting a current Earth nationality with one of the other races, I don't do, because my world is essentially split up into nations that emulate nations of our world. I have an area that's like India, with tigers and elephants and rakshasas as their leaders, and people who have to cover the heart, because people scream Molaram, Molaram, that kind of region. So making the elves in that area sound Indian is natural because that's the region that the elves come from. The elves across the way sound Scottish because the land of the Iron Kingdoms in my world is split up by 12 different barons who are 12 sons of the current king, split it up just like Scotland never really had a true king. They're always fought over it, That's how the sons are in there. So the dwarves do sound Scottish there. Unfortunately, so do the halflings and so do the elves. So I have a player who says, I want an elf, but I want him to sound Scottish. I know where you're from. You're from the Iron Kingdoms. Or I hear, well, I want a halfling that sounds like one of the 13 warriors from the movie 13th Warrior or the books Eater of the Dead. Okay, you're from the north. You're from the nation of Vanyar. Mary Ja. You're from that area. So regions and races to me don't work because not every human across this planet speaks the same. Hell, not even every human being in the same city speaks the same. So my point is, giving all elves sound Scottish or all dwarves sound Scottish to me doesn't make sense. And I get it; it's a cool niche and it worked, and it got perpetuated through World of Warcraft because all of their dwarves have Scottish accents and they all talk like this. And all the dwarves from the new Hobbit movies, they all have this accent and they speak gruffly in their English or what have you. But in my world, my elves are more like China. My elves have been ostracized due to something that happened in the past, way in a previous age. They screwed up and backstabbed everybody because it benefited them. And they owed a favor to something that made the entire race backstab the humans, the dwarves. They are in the process of absolving their offense. My dwarves don't have a problem with fertility. My dwarves are perfectly fine. The difference is my dwarves, who are my mountain dwarves, hate everyone. They don't trust the humans. They don't trust the elves. Obviously, nobody likes the elves. They don't trust the humans. They stay in their hole, and when they come out, they're Oscar the Grouch meets any woman who has PMDD.
PMDD?
Yeah, premenstrual dysmorphic disorder. Essentially, women who get off murdering a man because she said she's on her period has PMDD.
Got it. Okay.
I wasn't making a sexist comment. I was literally using a medical condition that people are known for having rage issues about. I could have said, anyways.
No, I got it.
I got you. My halflings. I have halflings that wear turbans and wear pointy shoes, and they're from the area that is regionally like India. They speak like Apu from, and I've had players play it like Apu from in The Simpsons. Now, I've also have halflings who walk around like a swarthy pirate because they're from the Jade Isles. Now, the northern part of the Jade Isles in my world is Japanese.
Mhm.
So you actually have a dwarf who cuts his beard and trims it to this giant motorcycle handlebar mustache that comes down just like he's what's his name, the Five-Finger Death Punch Kill Bill movie. He got the white long mustache that he
Pai
like,
Mei.
goes, "Ah."
Pai
Yeah,
Mei.
like Pai Mei. You got dwarves that act like that, and they speak like they're in a bad Saturday Kung Fu show.
Mm-hmm. Got it.
So, you know, my regions dictate the language, not the race in my world. And I think adding them makes it cool, but letting the regions dictate your race makes it even cooler because you don't know what's coming out. All of a sudden I have a very male chauvinist, sexist male halfling who sounds like the most sleazy Italian guy at a nightclub trying to hit on a woman, and he has a thick Italian accent. Oh, you're from Hepulchor. Yeah, I'm making a Hepulchor halfling, and he's going to adjust his tie when he's looking at women, but he's never going to look at them in the eye, just at their chest. I'm like, all right, that's even better. He got a personality to this character already.
Mhm.
So, yeah, that's my go. I'm done.
Makes sense. Whew. I think we've answered the question.
Yeah, and I think the mailbag's pretty empty. I think we got a couple in there, but emptier, yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 from FD still. We got to get him on the show. We should get FD on the show and just have like the FD read along where he just reads us his emails.
See,
He
that's
loved
not
it.
the cool part. Let's have Kojo read FD's emails and
Yes!
FD read Kojo's emails.
Perfect. Yes, I love that.
Well, I think we're done with this night's episode, so say goodnight, Full On.
Have a good one, Gamer Nation, and remember, you get what you ask for. So ask for it already!
And we give our thanks to DM Jim Cook for guest hosting for us. Say goodnight, Jim, please.
Thanks for having me on the show. I appreciate it. And happy holidays, everybody.
And last but not least, say goodnight, Corey.
Good night, folks. Have a happy holidays. Merry Christmas, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate. Have a good holiday, and we'll see you in the new year.
And this is DM Brian, substituting for DM Glenn, saying we'll see you next time when the hammer comes down on THACO's Hammer. Bye-bye.
Yeah, I think so.
Have fun.
I'm thinking of doing I'm thinking of halfling with some overalls.
THACO's Hammer theme is provided by the Diablo Swing Orchestra. You'll find them on Jamendo.com. All other additional music for this episode was provided by Kevin MacLeod. You'll find more of his music on Incompetech.com. Be sure to visit our website at thacoshammer.info. If you have any questions or comments, email us at thacoshammer@gmail.com. Remember, that's an O, not a 0. You can also find us on the second edition forums at osrgaming.org and at purpleworm.org. Or give us a call and leave us a voicemail at 405-806-0555. See you next time when the hammer comes down on THACO's Hammer.